Okay guys, I'm going to change the valve cover gasket. You watched my other video on when I was changing the spark plug. I actually found oil in the spark plug well, so that tells me I got a leaky valve cover gasket. So the tools I think I'm going to need is, let me show you. So I got a new valve cover kit, gasket kit. It was about a little over $20. I'm going to need some RTV. I think I need at least an 8mm socket and 10mm socket. It says I need a T20 and probably a few things here and there, and we'll see what we need. I'm going to follow closely. I found online for Pelican parts. Basically, they had instructions on how to move the valve cover off a Mini. I'm going to follow that one, kind of following that one, but it's going to be really I know that theirs is a little bit different. Some of the parts are a little bit different, so I'll point that out, but I'm going to try to follow through their steps, basically. So already I'm not following their instructions, because mine's a little bit different. I went ahead and took the T30s out to take off the cover. So I think the next thing I'm supposed to do is go ahead and squeeze this to slide off this breather hose. So basically take off this breather hose, you just squeeze on both sides and then it pops right off. Okay, most of the instructions basically getting this off, so we'll go ahead and take out this this bolt first. So basically to be able to take this out, I gotta take this out. So I'm gonna go ahead and loosen that bolt and disconnect it here. So basically I pulled out this fresh air intake hose, and to disconnect it from this, you just push on this tab, which lifts it up and allows you to get over, pull it out because of this little ridge right here. So once that bolt was taken out and the fresh air hose was disconnected, this thing just pops right off really easily. So took off this, I think it's a mass airflow sensor, and basically you push on this little tab that's on the bottom side. Once you push it, squeeze it, then it'll just pull right out. So next I'm going to loosen this so I could disconnect it. So basically I don't think you need to actually pull this off, because I'm going to try to work around it, because you can see way down there I think it's held in from that. So I think we just do, I'll be able to still get the valve cover off with it loose like that. Okay, took off the two CAN speed sensors. Basically you lift up this top tab, lift it up, slide it out. Same thing with this one, lift it up and slide it out. Ooh wee, that was a bitch. Basically I took off all the wire harness off the valve cover, and I have 1, 2, 3, and these are horrible to get off from the back. 4, 5, 6. So I have 6 of them. Basically they're the plastic with a metal clip with teeth on it, and what I use is a small screwdriver and basically get it underneath. You have to make sure you get it underneath the metal clip and the tab, and then just pry it up and then work your way, maybe both sides or just one side, and just keep working at it until they pop off. So that's 6 of those clips off the valve cover. Okay, I remember it wanted me to take off this vacuum hose, and basically to take that off you just push this button in here and it'll pop right off. Now I think basically you have to take that off because you have to unlatch this harness off the bracket, and this hose is in the way, so you can't lift it up unless you take this vacuum hose off. And there it is, right down there. So basically you lift this up and it comes right off this bracket right down in here. So that way you can get it out of the way. There's one of the CAN sensors off. Basically you use your 8mm and just take off the bolt and it'll pop straight out. So I got really curious on why this wouldn't come out. The air filter housing. So basically it is easy to take out. What it is you got these plastic things with a little side ridge on it. It's narrow in the middle, has a little neck down here, flares up bigger on top. Same on this one. I don't know if you can see that, skinny, flares on top. And basically what it is you got these rubber pieces to help keep vibration down, and when you put them back on, it'll just push through that hole and just pop out on the other side, and that's what holds it in. So I got this off. Okay, so now I think I'm clear of everything. I just need to take out this 8mm, which is connected at this ground. Then I can go ahead and take out the bolts all the way around the side. And this lure is kind of different than that Pelican parts instruction. Just said go ahead and take them off, and then when you put them back on, you do a kind of crisscross pattern. But I was looking at my other manual, which is the I'll show you. I went ahead and got this because it's a lot cheaper than the actual mini manual, and online review says it usually has all the stuff you need anyways. So what's interesting is this is the pattern that you're supposed to tighten them and take them off. 1, 2, 1, 2, then you got 3, 4, 5 on the right side, then 6 up here, then 7, 8, 9, then 10, 11, and 12, 13. And basically when you put it back on, you go around in that same pattern to tighten it too. So let's go ahead, take the bolts off and remove the valve cover. So I was trying to take off this 8mm. Can you see what's happening? And basically it's the stud on the bottom is spinning with the nut on top. So basically you're gonna need a 10mm like this, and gonna hold the bottom, then use the 8 on top, and should come right off. Oh, before I take off all these bolts, I'm gonna go ahead and pop these off. Basically lift them up, disconnects, lift up, disconnect, and these would pull, the ignition coil should pull right out. So this book shows 13 bolts, but mine only has 12, so slightly different variation to what's in the book. We got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, no, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Mine only has 12. Ah, this is the 13th right here. This stud actually comes off. Here's the 13th, and it's ground 2. So now I can pull the harness away and lift up the valve cover, hopefully. Okay, that was a little sticky, trying to peel it off. So I just used this and then pry it on this part right here. And once the seal was broken, it was easy to lift it off a little bit. So it should pop right off now. Okay, there it is. Peel it off. They say go ahead and clean around the where the gasket goes. Use a little plastic scraper if you need to. Clean that off. The valve cover, actually the gasket was sticking to the head, so actually when you peeled it off, it actually pulled it out some. So I got that. Got to change out these, and I believe these right here, and that's what the kit gives you. Okay, I wiped off the oil, but I still needed to scrape off all this black stuff off it around the edges. And during back when you do the installation, you go see that they go tell you to put some RTV here, and that's what's right here is the old RTV, which I gotta scrape off. Got the same side here, got the RTV, so I gotta scrape that off too. Okay, that's pretty good. You're never gonna get this completely clean, but as long as it feels smooth, not like big chunks hanging there. And then the important thing is I got the RTV out of here and the RTV out of here. And don't forget to clean this, clean this, clean this, clean this, and wipe down this, and wipe down this. And when you're scraping off all that gunk, remember to wipe it away from the interior of the engine, so that way the gunk doesn't fall inside the engine. So let's work on the valve cover. Okay, I went ahead and pulled these out. I pulled out the two small ones from here, and the spark plug well seals for those, and took out the whole gasket wrap. And I can feel that these has no squish to them at all. They're as hard as a rock, so that's why it's probably leaking. Okay, I did a courtesy wipe of wiping around the flat surfaces. Basically, that's just in case if there's any gunk on there, it doesn't interfere with the seal. So I basically just went ahead and wiped around the edges. So what comes in handy is go ahead and take the old one, since it's already formed to it, lay it out. So you can see that you got this hump here, which is supposed to go with this hump here, and you got this key, which is supposed to go with this key right here. So basically, you lay yours the same way, and it might be inside out, where mine I had to flip around because the key was on the wrong side, so you just turn it inside out, and it should match. Okay, there it is with the new gaskets in. There's a key here to make sure it's seated. A key right here, this cutout groove, and the key kind of keyed there a little bit. So that's how you know it's all nice and seated. Now let's put some RTV on the back on the other end. What was on there was black RTV, but I'm using this high temperature RTV, just thinking it might work better. So probably put too much, but there's a glob there, and there's a glob there, and that's basically to just get that little 90-degree crack in there, so it doesn't leak through that. Okay, I got all 13 bolts hand tightened back in. So just need to torque them down the pattern that's in that book. You notice I had the cap on here when I was doing that. Then when I actually drop a bolt down into the engine while I was doing that. Just make sure when you put this back on that the seal is the gasket is still seated well. Just look around the edges, make sure it's not popping out. It'll look like it's raised up high. That's because it's not torqued down yet and compressed. So let's look in the book to see what the torque specs are. Okay, this is for our Mark II engine, and valve cover fasteners is 84 inch-pounds or 10 Newton meters, so it really doesn't take much. So I'll go ahead and set the torque and go through that pattern at 5, and then do it again at 10. If you didn't see the pattern, maybe find it again. Hold on. There we go. So I do 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. Okay, they're all timed to 10 Newton meters. I kind of like went brain freeze there, and I thought it was more than 10 Newton meters. And I knew something was wrong because they were getting tighter, and I don't remember being them that tight when I was taking them off. So I went back and checked the book. Okay, valve cover fasteners, 10 Newton meters. So don't over tighten them. I picked up some of this heat-proof cloth tape, and basically I'm gonna wrap these ignition wires a little bit more. More is better. Okay, here's what it looks like. I put more wrap on here, so all the little wire pieces that were exposed is now covered up. Little zip ties, that'll keep it from unraveling. So let's put the engine back together. So I went ahead and put all the wire clips back in, front, side, in the back. And tying the ground back down, make sure you hold this so when you use the 8mm socket that you don't end up spinning in the bottom and making it tighter than it's supposed to be. Okay, I went ahead and put the air filter back in. Basically it just pops into those grommets in the back. Tying this down, connect the mass airflow sensor back, tying the intake back hose, and I'm going to pop back on the breather. Okay, make sure you go ahead and slide this back onto its bracket. Then that allows you to go ahead and connect this vacuum hose back up, which is right there. They recommend in that book to replace this O-ring when you pull them out. Don't use the O-ring again, but the kit didn't come with it, so I'm going to have to buy some O-rings separate and replace these at a later time. So go ahead and cam shaft sensors, go ahead and pop those back in, screw them down, and connect the connectors. So basically when you put this back in, put it in at a little bit of an angle like that, push it in, then when you turn it, it actually locks into back there, because there's tabs on it. So you can tell you're actually in by pulling on it and it doesn't pop out. You go ahead and put the bolt back in here. Okay, fresh air intake, go ahead and route it, snap it back in, and make sure both ends are snapped in. You know what we think? This fresh air intake was never connected to this trim up here. It was a bitch getting it back in. So basically there are ridge tabs. Let's see if I can get a light on it. There are ridge tabs right here, and there's another one on this side right here. So basically you get a screwdriver underneath and lift it up, get it over that little hump, and then it'll fall into the little groove. So now it's actually connected. These are the old ignition coils. I went ahead and bought some new ones because the other ones had oil on them. So I read somewhere that said it's a good idea to replace them. So these are off-brand. Here's the off-brand. They're about a little over 20 bucks a piece. Go put some dielectric underneath here and in the boot. So this is dielectric grease. So dielectric means non-conductive. So I'm gonna put some on underneath this boot to make it easier to take out next time, and a little bit on this boot here at the bottom for all four. Okay, saw one thing I didn't mention, and I discovered when you put this ground back on, make sure it's aligned and it's not sticking out the tab, because otherwise you will not be able to get this cover on. So, and make sure you hold down the other one with a 10mm, and go ahead and take off the top with an 8mm. So you could, if you need to pivot back so it's tight up against the valve cover. So let's put the top back on and start up the engine. So we're gonna go ahead and start up the car, and everything's back together, buttoned up, and still love my mini courtesy light. Did a video on how to change that out if you want your courtesy light to have the mini logo. So let's see how we do here. Sounds pretty good. So another job done, valve cover changed out. Hopefully that keeps the oil out of the spark plug well, and everything works well. So until my next video, which I think should be coming up next week, and I'll talk about that one. Have a good one, guys.